welcome to today's deep dive. And look, whether you're prepping for some massive career pivot or you're just, insanely curious about the mechanics of success, this one is for you.
Yeah, we are getting into some really foundational stuff today.
We really are, because we are unpacking a towering stack of source material centered around one of the most famous and I'd say most scrutinized self-help books of all time.
Oh, absolutely scrutinized.
Right. It's Napoleon Hill's 1937 classic, Think and Grow Rich. And our mission today is to essentially extract that core framework, the 13 principles of success. But, we have to balance its timeless wisdom with some sharp modern skepticism.
Which is so necessary, yeah. Because look, to give some context, we are talking about a cultural monolith. I mean, this book has sold over 100 million copies.
Which is just a staggering number.
It's wild. You walk into any high-level real estate office or some startup incubator, and you will find these dog-eared copies of it. It's treated almost like an ancient text.
Like it has some mystical authority. And the lore behind it is legendary, right? Hill claimed he was commissioned by the steel magnate Andrew Carnegie to basically spend 20 years interviewing over 500 of the most successful people on Earth.
Right, like Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, John D. Rockefeller.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this. How should we even begin to look at this material today, given all that baggage?
Well, I think to really grasp this, we have to view the text through two very distinct lenses.
Okay.
First, we have to look at it as a practical psychological blueprint for achievement, like just raw behavioral psychology, because there are strategies here that undeniably work.
Right, the actual nuts and bolts.
Exactly. But then the second lens has to be historical and, frankly, highly critical, because this book is literally the phenomenon that birthed the modern law of attraction industry. So we have to confront the mysticism and, the very real possibility that the origin story itself is a fabrication.
Wow. Okay, so keeping both of those lenses in mind, let's start with a spark of achievement. The very first principle, which is desire and a definite major purpose.
Yeah, the starting point.
Hill insists that success doesn't start with, like, a business plan or a spreadsheet. It starts with a burning desire, which, at first glance, feels a bit hollow. Like, everybody desires to be successful.
Oh, yeah, but Hill makes a really crucial distinction there. He openly mocks the idea of just wishing.
Oh, wishing won't do it.
No, wishing is passive. Wishing is what you do when you see a shooting star. He says you need a burning desire or a consuming obsession.
Consuming obsession, that sounds intense.
It is. It's a psychological state where the goal becomes the singular dominating thought of your life. And he doesn't just leave it as this abstract concept. He actually gives these 6 highly specific practical steps to transform that desire into reality.
Right. And looking at this list from the source material, it reads like almost like a psychological contract you sign with yourself.
Yeah.
Step 1 is you have to fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire.
Yes, exact. Not just plenty of money.
No, you have to pick a specific to the penny number.
And step 2 is the reality check, which I love. You have to determine exactly what you will give in return for that money because, nothing comes for nothing.
Right. There's no free lunch in this philosophy.
Exactly. Then step 3, select a definite date to possess it, put a ticking clock on it.
And step 4 is to create a definite plan and execute it immediately. Like whether you feel ready or not, you just jump.
Yeah, build the airplane on the way down. Then step 5, write all of this down in a clear, concise statement.
Okay, and step 6 is where it gets a little weird for me. The text says to read this written statement aloud twice daily, once in the morning, once at night. And you have to see and feel yourself already in possession of the money.
Yes, the visualization piece.
I got to push back on this a little bit. Isn't this just wishing on a star with extra steps? Like I'm standing in my bathroom mirror telling myself I'm a millionaire.
I completely get that reaction. But what's fascinating here is the underlying psychology. Think of it like setting a GPS in your car.
Okay, a GPS.
Yeah, if you don't type in an exact specific address, the car can't route you. It doesn't matter how much gas you have. By defining a definite chief aim, you're saturating your subconscious mind.
Oh, so it automatically starts influencing your physical actions.
Exactly. You start noticing opportunities that were always there, but your brain just filtered them out before.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And to tie this back to action, the sources mentioned this extra mile formula. It's an actual equation. Q1 plus Q2 plus MA equals C.
Yes, quality of service plus quantity of service plus mental attitude equals compensation.
And it's not just financial compensation, right? The text says it's joy, harmony, and spiritual enlightenment, too.
Which is a huge distinction. If you deliver the quality and quantity, but your attitude is toxic, the formula breaks.
Right. There's an amazing anecdote in the sources about this writer, William Novak. He really embodies this formula.
Oh, the Ayakaka book, yeah.
Yeah. So Novak was tapped to co-author Chrysler CEO Lee Iacocca's autobiography. And Novak could have just, taken the dictation, polished it up, and called it a day. The book would have sold anyway just on Iacocca's name.
You could have just done the bare minimum.
Exactly. But Novak went the extra mile. He poured this intense, burning desire into making the book highly readable and deeply inspiring. He maxed out the quality of service and his mental attitude.
And the result was staggering.
It was a massive cultural phenomenon. And because he applied that formula, Novak became the most sought-after ghostwriter in the industry. He could command his choice of subjects and massive, massive advances after that.
Which is a perfect real-world application. But, if desire is the destination in that GPS analogy, how do we actually get the engine to turn over?
Right, because I can desire something all day, but if I don't believe I can get it, I'm stuck. And Hill's answer to that is the second and third principles, faith and autosuggestion.
Faith is huge here. But he's not talking about religious faith.
Right. He defines it as the visualization and belief in the attainment of your desire. He says it's the only known antidote for failure.
But the problem is, most people are absolutely plagued by self-doubt, right? We're wired for anxiety.
Oh, completely. Which is why he introduces autosuggestion. It's basically a tool to build that faith artificially until it becomes real.
Yeah, it's the agency of communication between the conscious and subconscious mind.
Like programming a computer.
Exactly. The sources suggest devoting 10 minutes every single day to just literally demanding self-confidence from yourself.
Demanding it. That's such a strong word.
It is. You are repeatedly affirming your goals to forcefully program the mind.
The text actually has this incredible camera analogy to explain this. I love this part.
Oh yeah, break that down.
So it says the brain is like a camera. The conscious mind is the mechanical shutter that blocks the light. Autosuggestion is the lens that focuses the image.
And the subconscious is the film plate?
Right, the sensitized plate. And then what he calls infinite intelligence is the developer that turns that image into physical reality.
It's a beautiful metaphor. But we really have to point out the danger here, which is negative autosuggestion.
Oh, right. Because the camera doesn't care what you pointed at.
Exactly. The subconscious mind is totally impartial. It doesn't filter for good or bad ideas. If you feed it fear and doubt, it will perfectly manifest failure.
Which is terrifying, honestly. The sources say that poverty needs no plan because it is bold and ruthless, while riches are shy and timid.
Riches have to be attracted.
Right. You have to actively court success, but failure will just invite itself in if you leave the door open.
Precisely. Now, we should transition here because belief without competence is just delusion.
Right. I can sit in my room and believe I'm a surgeon, but please don't let me operate on anyone.
Yeah, exactly. Which leads us to the next principles in the workshop of the mind: specialized knowledge and imagination.
Okay, so let's talk about knowledge first, because Hill has a very specific take on the old saying, knowledge is power.
He says it's a complete falsehood.
Really? Just flat out wrong.
Yeah. He clarifies that general knowledge, no matter how vast it is practically useless for accumulating money.
Wow. Take that, trivia champions.
Right. He says knowledge is only potential power. It only becomes actual power when it's organized and intelligently directed through specialized knowledge.
Organized and directed.
Okay.
And to direct it, you need imagination.
Which he divides into two very distinct forms.
Okay, lay them out.
The first is synthetic imagination. This is basically taking old concepts, established ideas, or existing plans and recombining them into new shapes.
Like remixing something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're not creating something out of thin air, you're just rearranging the puzzle pieces. The second form is creative imagination.
And what's that?
That's the more mystical one. That's tapping into hunches, intuition, and drawing direct inspiration from infinite intelligence. It's when an entirely new idea just flashes into your mind.
Okay, to ground this, the sources provide some really amazing historical case studies. Like Thomas Edison.
Oh, Edison is the ultimate example of synthetic imagination.
Right. So he famously failed over 10,000 times to invent the light bulb. But he didn't just stumble onto the answer. He used synthetic imagination.
How so?
Well, he combined two completely unrelated known facts. Fact one, running electricity through a wire creates heat and light, but it kept burning up. Fact two, He knew that charcoal is made by covering burning wood with dirt to deprive it of oxygen so it doesn't incinerate.
He synthesized them.
Yes. He realized if he could put the wire in a vacuum, depriving it of oxygen, he could control the heat. He didn't invent electricity or the vacuum, he just combined them.
That is brilliant. And F.W. Woolworth did something similar in retail, didn't he?
Yeah, Woolworth was just a hardware clerk. His store was full of dead, out-of-date stock that nobody wanted to buy. So he used synthetic imagination. He asked his boss to put all the dead stock on a single table and price every item at exactly 10 cents.
Just a uniform price point.
Right. And it sold instantly. It cleared out. So Woolworth went to his boss and said, "We should do a whole store like this."
And the boss said no.
The boss completely refused, lacked imagination entirely. It cost that boss millions, while Woolworth went off and built the massive five-and-dime empire.
And Clarence Saunders did the exact same thing with groceries.
Piggly Wiggly.
Yeah. Before him, you handed a list to a clerk. Saunders synthesized the grocery store with the concept of a self-serve cafeteria. Just a simple idea that completely revolutionized global retail.
It's all about how you assemble the pieces. But there's another profound point from the sources about imagination. It can actually turn tragedy into wealth.
The mail carrier story.
Yes. So there's this mail carrier who lost his leg in a streetcar accident.
Which, back then, especially for a mail carrier, is a career-ending disaster.
Completely. He received a $5,000 compensation settlement. Now, he could have just lived meagerly on that and faded away. Instead, he used his imagination to realize that while his legs were gone, his hands were perfectly fine.
He looked at his remaining assets.
Right. He used the $5,000 to go to school and became one of the highest-paid engravers in the U.S. His hands, guided by his imagination, ended up being worth far more than his legs ever were.
Turning misfortune into an asset. It's incredibly powerful.
But, ideas created in the imagination are totally useless without execution.
They're just daydreams.
Exactly. So here's where it gets really interesting. We have to move into the gritty reality of making things happen, which is the engine of execution. Organized planning, decision, and persistence.
Because a goal without a plan is just a wish. The sources actually list 31 major causes of failure.
31, that's a long list to avoid.
Right. It includes things like lack of purpose, unfavorable heredity, procrastination. But to overcome them, you have to build sound plans and offer clear value.
And the text gives this great advice about finding a job. It says when you look for a job, you shouldn't ask, is there an opening?
Which is what everyone does.
Right, but it says you should instead concentrate completely on what can I give? How can my specialized knowledge solve your company's specific problems?
It flips the entire dynamic. You become a value provider, not a beggar.
But even with a great plan, you need the power of decision. Hill analyzed 16,000 people and found a defining trait.
Yeah, leaders make decisions quickly and change them slowly, if ever.
And followers vacillate. They rarely make prompt decisions, and they change their minds constantly.
There's that sad anecdote in the book about the man pecking at the old typewriter.
Oh, man, in the dirty office.
Yeah, the text diagnoses his ultimate downfall as his complete inability to reach a decision. He just let life happen to him.
Indecision is a silent killer, and if decision gets you moving, persistence is what keeps you going.
Persistence is the insurance against failure. It's what you maintain despite obstacles.
The framework actually outlines 4 specific steps to persistence. First, a definite purpose backed by desire.
Second, a continuous plan.
Third, a mind tightly closed to all negative and discouraging influences.
And fourth, a friendly alliance with one or more people who will encourage you.
Which brings us to Henry Ford. Ford is the poster child for this.
Yeah.
He overcame massive handicaps, poverty, illiteracy, absolute ignorance.
And within 10 years, he overcame all of it. And within 25 years, he was the richest man in America.
Purely through unbreakable persistence and decisiveness. He just refused to quit on the V8 engine, for example.
But here's the thing. Ford didn't achieve that wealth in a vacuum.
No, he didn't.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this brings us to what Hill considered the absolute secret to immense power, the ultimate multiplier.
The mastermind.
Yes, the mastermind.
How exactly does the text define it? Because it's not just a networking group, right?
No, it's defined as the coordination of knowledge and effort in a spirit of harmony between 2 or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose.
Harmony is the key word there. The text talks about the third mind concept. It says there's an economic phase, which makes sense. You hire an accountant, a lawyer, etc.
Right, pooling resources.
But then there's the psychic phase. It claims that when 2 minds come together in perfect harmony, they actually create A third invisible, intangible force. A third mind.
It uses a battery analogy, which is really helpful.
Right. Explain the batteries.
Okay, so think of the human brain as an electric battery. One single battery provides a set limited amount of energy. But if you take a group of batteries and connect them together, they provide exponentially more power.
The voltage spikes.
Exactly. A group of brains connected in harmony provides vastly more thought energy than a single brain ever could.
And the case studies for this are wild. Andrew Carnegie, for instance. He attributed his entire massive fortune to his mastermind group of about 50 men.
Right, men who helped him manufacture and market steel. He didn't know all the technical details himself.
Not at all. And Henry Ford's most rapid strides happened when he became close personal friends with Thomas Edison, Harvey Firestone, John Burroughs, and Luther Burbank.
He literally absorbed their intelligence and their spiritual forces. He synced up with their frequency.
But the craziest example of the mastermind principle in the book isn't even about business. It's Mahatma Gandhi.
Yes, Hill asserts that Gandhi was the most powerful man living at that time.
And not through military force or money.
No, through the absolute miracle of inducing 200 million people to coordinate their mind and body in a spirit of harmony for a single definite purpose.
200 million brains linked in a mastermind. That is staggering to think about.
It really is. And, speaking of staggering, this is where the book takes a very sharp turn.
Yeah, it really departs from practical business advice and veers into the deeply metaphysical, the metaphysical frontiers.
We're talking about the brain, the sixth sense, sex transmutation, and fear.
Let's start with the brain. Hill describes the human brain as a literal broadcasting and receiving station for thought vibrations.
Like an actual radio antenna.
Right. And he says the apex of this entire philosophy is the sixth sense. This is where intuition completely takes over, and infinite intelligence communicates with you directly without any conscious effort.
Like a pure flow state of inspiration.
Exactly. And to illustrate this, there's this incredible story of Dr. Elmer Gates. Have you heard of him?
Only from this text, really. He was an inventor, right?
Yeah, an inventor who had twice as many patents as Edison. But he had this bizarre method. He built a pitch-black, entirely soundproof room in his lab.
Sensory deprivation.
Total sensory deprivation. He would go into this soundproof room, sit at a desk with just a pencil and paper, turn off the lights, and wait.
Wow.
He was waiting for his creative vision to receive solutions directly from infinite intelligence. Sometimes he waited an hour. Sometimes the ideas flowed instantly, and he'd just furiously write down these complex engineering solutions in the dark.
He was tuning his mental radio to receive the broadcast. That's fascinating. And then the text goes into another really unusual chapter, the mystery of sex transmutation.
Yeah, dropping a chapter on sex into a business manual is definitely a choice.
It is, but the concept is actually pretty straightforward. It involves taking primal sexual energy, which is arguably the strongest human drive, and deliberately redirecting it.
Redirecting it how?
Transmuting it into creative, productive, and professional outlets, using that massive biological energy to fuel your personal achievement instead of just physical expression.
It's like taking high-octane fuel and putting it into the engine of your career.
Exactly. But he notes that absolutely none of this, not the mastermind, not the imagination, not the transmutation, none of it works if your mind is clouded by fear.
Right, conquering the 6 ghosts of fear.
The sources identify 6 major fears that plague humanity: the fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death.
He calls them ghosts that literally ride in your brain.
And they kill enthusiasm, they destroy your faith, and they completely blind your vision.
You cannot operate a mastermind if everyone is paralyzed by the fear of criticism.
Exactly. So what does this all mean? We've got this incredible, intricate blueprint.
But we also have a massive responsibility to look at the criticism. We have to view this through the skeptic's lens.
We absolutely do.
And I want to say right now to you, the listener, we are not taking a side here on the legacy of Napoleon Hill.
Right here.
We are simply reporting the viewpoints contained in the provided sources to give you a complete, unbiased picture.
Right. We're just laying out the facts as presented. And the critical perspective from the Gizmodo article in our sources is pretty severe.
Oh, it's brutal.
The article literally labels Hill the greatest self-help scammer of all time.
Ouch. Why? What's their main argument?
Well, they point out that the dialogue attributed to Andrew Carnegie, the supposed intimate hours-long interviews, reads like fabricated drivel.
Really? Like he just made it up.
That's the claim. The critics argue that 20th century industrialists simply did not speak like modern self-help gurus.
Oh, there's that specific quote in the text where Carnegie supposedly says, "To control the wheel of fortune, one must understand, master, and apply the 17 principles of achievement."
Right. And the critique is like, come on, Carnegie was a steel baron. He wasn't in the advice selling business. He didn't talk in numbered, marketing friendly bullet points.
The 17 principles of achievement definitely sounds like someone trying to sell a seminar.
Exactly. And the article also points out that Hill's work paved the way for an entire, sometimes toxic industry. It directly influenced the mid-2000s phenomenon, The Secret, and the whole law of attraction movement.
The idea that if you're poor or sick, it's just because you had low vibrational thoughts.
Right, which can be incredibly damaging.
So how do we synthesize these two views? We have this brilliant cognitive framework on one hand and allegations of historical fiction on the other.
Well, whether the Carnegie dialogues were verbatim transcripts or just highly stylized fictional framing devices, the underlying principles still hold up.
That's a great point.
Look at modern founders. The sources mention Thomas Stemberg, who ignited the superstore boom with Staples.
Right.
He didn't do it alone. He surrounded himself with a mastermind of venture capitalists and retail experts. He utilized intense persistence. He applied organized planning.
He executed the exact framework, whether he read the book or not.
Exactly. The mechanics of achievement are undeniably present in successful enterprises today, regardless of Hill's personal mythology.
You don't throw away a good hammer just because the person who sold it to you lied about where they bought it.
Precisely.
Well, this has been an absolute marathon of a journey today. Let's summarize what we've covered.
We've gone from the very seed of cultivating a burning desire to programming the subconscious mind with unwavering faith and autosuggestion.
We talked about organizing specialized knowledge into actionable plans and multiplying your power exponentially through a mastermind group.
And we even navigated the wild metaphysical realms of the brain acting as a radio station while still acknowledging the very real modern skepticism surrounding the author.
It's a massive, demanding system. And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought to mull over today.
Yes, let's leave them with something to chew on.
Hill claims that the brain is a literal broadcasting and receiving station for thought energy. Now, whether you believe that as literal quantum physics, or you just view it as a powerful metaphor for your body language and actions, ask yourself this today. What exact signal are you broadcasting to the people around you right now?
Are you broadcasting fear and indecision?
Exactly. Because if you don't like the opportunities and the relationships you're receiving in your life right now, what frequency do you need to change?
That is the ultimate question.
It really is. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the blueprints, keep learning, and go build your own mastermind. We'll see you next time.